Hi there. I'm really amazed that all these financial geeks still don't get the whole issue or the whole point of the situation. You know, Carl Denninger ranting and raving is interesting. It's always interesting to see somebody rant and be angry or be depressed or be serious, and you shouldn't mistake that for anything of importance. I think it's not. He plays the alpha male. Everybody else in the media does so, and they're all talking about the financial system, which to me is completely irrelevant because I look ahead in the future where everything will have to be renewable, and there's so much that people don't understand about it. So I'll just try to explain one aspect of renewable energy, which completely explains why I think it's so crazy to talk about money at this time, about dollars mainly. And that is that imagine that you have a little town with people that do some kind of craft, and then you have a bread mill that bakes breads for everybody. And that bread mill is completely autonomous because it has a big windmill, and the big windmill makes the fertilizer for the farm. It makes the fuel. It makes the methanol fuel for the farm machines. It heats. It does the grinding. It does the molding. It heats the farms for the cows. It does everything and it bakes the bread, of course. Everything that's needed to do that. It's a production powering windmill. A few of them maybe. Well, that windmill, of course. So out of that whole cluster of activities, which is autonomous because of the energy that's provided by the windmill, lots of stuff is produced. Now, there's no real money needed to run that thing because all the raw materials can be recycled, and the energy comes from the windmill. So the thing is there. So what does it mean that this thing produces bread at an alarming rate for everybody? Now, if you want to reward the workers in that factory, you could obviously say, well, we produce bread, so we distribute the bread amongst our workers, so they can sell it on the market and then trade it for whatever they want. That makes a lot of sense. But, of course, that's not very practical. So what you do is you make certificates for bread that the workers get, and that they can go into the market and trade for whatever they need, so they can pay with these certificates, so that everybody else gets bread to eat, and then they can go to the factory store or the factory outlet in the town and get the bread. See, that system completely makes sense. Now there's several aspects of it. First of all, and that would be of course a boon or a very profitable thing for the people working in the bread factory, because they would be, of course it's a factory, so it makes thousands of breads each day. Everybody gets credits for 500 bread loaves every day, and it can spend it, and So I hope that this example explains that, okay, so you simply distribute all the bread credits that you create, these certificates, over all the workers. That would be fair, and maybe you reserve a little bit in order to pay for people that do maintenance on your machines and blah blah blah. Well, you can already see that what I'm talking about is that the windmill and the whole production facility together create a need for the creation of money. So, ergo, we say in Holland, and probably in the US and everywhere else too, renewable energies require the creation of money in order to trade the products that you can produce using them. Ergo, there should be a bank next to each windmill, each power plant, each nuclear factory, each wave power plant. And, big surprise, there is a bank next to each of these facilities at the moment. And there is a bank next to each oil well to distribute the energy from the oil well to distribute the products that are made using the energy from the oil well. And of course also to distribute the products made from the oil itself. And so, and that type of money doesn't exist in modern economics. Let's say the renewable money doesn't exist. And how do you know it doesn't exist? Well, you get a question about all these renewable sources. Everybody makes a calculation on their return on investment. How much return on investment do I have on this windmill and stuff like that? What does it mean? It means nothing. It's a completely vacuous thing. Why? Because imagine that you're making a return on investment calculation today. So this windmill produces so much megawatts, which you sell on the market, which is a completely oil-driven, oil credit-driven market. And that money represents oil. It doesn't represent anything else at the moment, because it's created out of the fact that there's oil. And then, so you make the calculation, and oh, finally, this renewable resource pays back itself in 5 years. Hallelujah. And then 2 weeks later, there's no oil at all on Earth anymore. Nothing. Okay, but so what happens to your return on investment then? It completely collapses. It's meaningless. Because there's no oil anymore, but there's a shitload of money floating around that Matt Denninger and all these other people are so ranting and raving about. You will be having ultra, hyper, mega turbo inflation. Because no matter how much money you spend or offer, you won't be able to get anything for it. Which means, and that's because money is oil. So, instead of focusing on the money itself, focus on the reason why it is created. It is created because there are oil reserves and gas reserves, being and nuclear reserves and wind and wave, but oil and gas and etc. the main ones. And of course wind, if it's centralized, channeled wind, which let's say can basically hide the fact that there's a bank next to it. People don't really realize it. Wonder, how else could I create a reason for money to be created? In what other way can I drive production, the real economy, and create and allow production, so that I need money to trade that stuff that I make? And of course, if that's the case, then if you have a reason to trade stuff, if you have assets and commodities and products to trade, then Bernanke can print, let's say, can go all medieval on his quantitative easing printing press. It doesn't matter anymore, although you really need to match it with the energy that you are generating using your renewable source. That's not the way the people think about it, and it's like it's almost such a faint distinction between what's happening now and what you should be thinking about, and it's so well hidden with this whole return on investment thing. A windmill. So the windmill in the bread factory. How does it pay for itself? It pays for itself by giving the people that build it bread for the next 20 years or something like that. And then of course you can also say, well, it pays for itself by giving the workers in the factory, or let's say giving bread to whoever else. It's like giving these certificates to people, the money that the factory creates. Anyway, very long video, but stop wondering and ranting and raving about the money and start thinking about how you can power production in a way that doesn't require any fossil fuels or oil or gas. Thanks for listening.